The Wendigo, sometimes spelled Windigo or Weendigo, is believed to be the spirit of winter and a symbol of the dangers of selfishness. Although beliefs vary, the Wendigo is generally considered a horrifying entity with an insatiable taste for human flesh. The legend originates from Algonquin Native American folklore, and the details vary depending on who you ask. Some people who have claimed to encounter the beast say it's a relative of Bigfoot, but other reports compare the Wendigo to a werewolf instead. As the tale goes, the Wendigo was once a lost hunter in North America. During a brutally cold winter, this man's intense hunger drove him to cannibalism. After feasting on another human's flesh, he transformed into a crazed man-beast, roaming the forest in search of more people to eat. One usually becomes a Wendigo as punishment for dishonorable or taboo activities, such as engaging in cannibalism due to starvation. According to Sean Smallman, author of Dangerous Spirits, The Wendigo in Myth and History, it was a means of defining moral social behaviour, which could serve as a warning against greed and selfishness. One could also become a Wendigo if a shaman cursed them, or if they dreamt of the Wendigo. Since the Wendigo is said to be a cold weather creature, most sightings have been reported in Canada, as well as colder northern states in the US like Minnesota. At the turn of the 20th century, the Algonquin tribes blamed many unsolved disappearances of people on Wendigo attacks. According to legends of the Nahanni Valley, a native author named Basil H. Johnston described the Wendigo in his masterwork, The Manitou, as being gaunt to the point of emaciation, its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones, with its bones pushing out over its skin, its complexion the ash grey of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into the sockets. The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody, unclean and suffering from the separations of the flesh. The Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odour of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. A quick Google image search for Wendigo produces pages of antlered snow demons and giant reindeer-like beasts. However, this image is a far cry from how Indigenous people understood the Wendigo. Among many native peoples, the Wendigo remains a warning against greed, but now they associate it with the excesses of capitalism rather than wilderness or barren winters. Importantly, even this modern conceptualization of the Wendigo among Indigenous peoples is not without hope. The Wendigo has become a fixture in North American pop culture and is a frequent subject in film and literature all over the world. It is featured in novels such as Rick Yancey's The Curse of the Wendigo and Stephen King's Pet Sematary. The Wendigo also appears in Marvel comics, video games, and even the cartoon My Little Pony. Non-native writers seem to be fascinated by the Wendigo. However, their depictions of the Wendigo vary considerably from those presented by Indigenous authors. These differences speak volumes about how non-native people tend to simplify Indigenous beliefs and often strip them of cultural context in the process. According to most Native American legends, the physical form of a Wendigo is often said to be human-like. Over time, it becomes a giant. In some stories, the Wendigo has a heart of ice and is so hungry for flesh that it chews its lips off. Conversely, when the Wendigo appears in North American pop culture, it is usually likened to a werewolf, vampire, yeti, or some combination thereof.